Welcome everyone to the Raymore City Council work session for Monday, July the 2nd. We have several items on our work session agenda tonight, first of which is our joint meeting with the Arts Commission. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Fearborn.
Thank you, sir. Looking across all of our council members here, was it the dating game where they all introduced themselves as the same person? I'm bachelor number one, and my name is Jim Fearborn. Anyway, fun meeting tonight, joint meeting with the Arts Commission, and if we could just start by having everybody introduce themselves around, Mr. Mayor, if you'd start.
Yeah, I'm Mayor Chris Turnbow.
Kevin Barber, Ward 3.
Bachelor number 2. Jay Holman, Ward 3, sorry.
Lauren Jones.
Sharon Paris, Ward 1.
Harriet Lawrence, Ward 3.
Pat Setzer, I don't remember.
No.
Am I at large?
4.
I'm
you're
four.
four. I think you're
I'm not
four,
at large.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you're at, yeah.
Bob Berry, I'm at large.
Kevin Kellogg, Ward 1, council member.
John Berenson, Ward 4.
Tom Circle, Ward 2.
Reginald Townsend, Ward 1.
Jonathan Zur, City Attorney.
I'm Mike Eakey, I'm the Communications Director.
And with those introductions, I'll turn it over to Mr. Eakey to get us started.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn. Wanted to start our discussion tonight in our joint meeting. I want to thank the council for inviting the Arts Commission and allowing us the opportunity, but also wanted to give just a quick overview and recap of the last year with the Arts Commission and to talk about what our charge has been and what the Commission's charge has been and how we as staff have really taken that here in the last year. When the Commission was formed 3 years ago, really they were given a charge of engaging with our citizens, promoting the arts, facilitating communications between established arts organizations, and also serving as an advisory board to the council. And in those last 3 years, we've seen, I think, a lot of new arts opportunities present themselves and a lot of new programming come to the city through their hard work and through the charge that the council has given them. But one thing we do want to point out is a lot of the work that's been done is not necessarily just by random act. There's a lot going on in our arts communities, especially here in Raymore and throughout the region. But when we founded the Arts Commission and have been moving year to year, we are very careful to really analyze and take stock of what our residents are interested in, planning for the coming year, using the dollars that the council have very graciously given the Arts Commission and ensuring that we're using them wisely and very, very transparently. And so as you can see, when we first started back in 2015, one of the first things the Arts Commission did was held a series of community conversations, much like the council did later in 2016. This gave us a good baseline of information to talk about, or to talk with residents about what they would like to see more of in the community. And we held online surveys, the in-person community surveys, and built what you'll see here in a minute was our strategic plan and our work plan that has guided the commission in its work and efforts here in the last 3 years. 2016, we kind of saw an echo of some of that information come through the council's community conversations where the Arts Commission had a very prominent feature, and we saw residents again talk very favorably of seeing more live music, more public art, more classes that they could interact with and connect with the city on. In 2016, we also developed the annual work plan. Every year we've been renewing that plan, and a copy of which is in front of you for the next fiscal year, 2019. This work plan is really a list of the projects that the Arts Commission will be undertaking in 2019. We're still working through the work plan that we had for 2018, and we really successfully are able to kind of check the boxes as we go through and make our way through these projects. And then in 2018 and 19, as we move forward, we know our focus is going to be in the performance arts. This has been an area that residents have said overwhelmingly they'd like to see more of in the community. I think we also see the connection with the new amphitheater being constructed here in the next year, that the Arts Commission will have a big role in helping program that area, as well as find other ways that we can provide performance art throughout the community, not just at an outdoor concert venue, but also in some of our local churches or here at Centerview and other locations. And so we really look forward to the formation of a performance art committee that will again engage residents in an audit of what we would like to see, what's available, and again connecting the community with those assets that are already out there. So providing 2018, just kind of a quick view by the numbers. Our website had just over 1,000 views. Our Facebook page has grown to about 340. We continue to grow the email subscription list, and we have a monthly newsletter that goes out that talks about the events that we have going on and other items. Summer Scene saw about 300 people vote in the pop-up art project, the Relax in Raymore with the Adirondack chairs. We also saw the largest number of folks participate in the pop-up art project, and we thought this was a great turnout, and if you were able to see all 3 rows of the chairs lined up in the park, it was pretty impressive. We've had really a high number of attendees. Each month we have a family art day, as well as we've held 2 paint and sip events that have sold out very quickly. And those have been very popular, and we've introduced new programming and have held 3 council art exhibits here in the council chamber. We have a new artist that'll be displaying his work starting next week, and so we'll have our 4th artist in here very quickly. Now, what's nice about looking at these numbers is it kind of gives you a hard fact of what the Arts Commission has accomplished through, but this isn't the only thing they've accomplished here in one slide. What has been really great, and I think what is a little less tangible, but to me a little bit more important, is the work that they have been doing has really expanded beyond our borders. We are able to cultivate a large network of supporters throughout the community, whether they are lifelong artists, whether they're just starting as artists, as adults, or whether they're young children, getting interested in the events that we have. We see people in all corners of the community, Cass County and even the region, interested in the work that we're doing here in Raymore. So these are the 4 key strategies. So much like the council has a strategic plan, the Arts Commission has its own focused strategic plan for cultivating the projects and efforts that they undertake in the year. The first one being increasing the amount of public art, also looking at increasing resources for the arts, and this is through either private-public partnerships, through finding existing resources or existing arts programs. Also continuing the support of existing programs through Parks and Recreation, the Farmers Market, and then finally, really the one that's brand new, and that is going to be a focus, I believe, for the commissioners in the coming year, is going to be increasing the opportunities for performance art throughout the community. Performance art, we tried to keep that fairly broad because there's a whole range of opportunities, not just through music, but through music, theater, oratory, poetry, and other ways that we could experience that here in our community. So under Strategy 1 in the last year, we saw the completion of the city's 3rd major public art piece. This was Jacob Duncan's mural in Memorial Park. If you haven't had a chance to go see it, it really, it changes the way that park entrance looks as you approach from the parking lot, and it really is quite stunning. We updated our public art priority list. At the back of the packet that you had in front of you tonight, there is a list of the areas that the Arts Commission and the Parks and Recreation Board have agreed are future areas that could really use a public piece of art, whether that's a sculpture, some sort of interactive piece. And as we bring on new pieces of public art, this priority list is updated. At the same time, as we bring on new parks online, this list also continues to update as the Park Board identifies new areas that would benefit from public artwork. We're continuing to expand the City Council Chamber Art Gallery. We're also now including Centerview and getting artists interested in displaying their artwork at Centerview in that hallway. And we also just recently started collaborating with the Community Development Department in finding ways that we could incentivize new developments that come into the city that could include some kind of public art piece, but also to find ways that established developments may be interested in bringing public art or improving public art within those developments, whether it's commercial or residential. The second strategy area, and this really was spotlighted this year as we saw the seed sculpture by Chet Redman as we cut the ribbon on that. This was a great partnership between Cadence and the city through the Arts Commission, and we would really like to see more pieces like this, where we're able to make those kind of partnerships with our private developers to bring artwork to some of these gateway areas within our city. The second item, establishing the Raymore Community Foundation. This was a big project, really spearheaded by the Arts Commission for garnering donations for public art, but we quickly realized that this would be something that really the police department, the animal shelter, and Parks and Recreation would all benefit from. And so it had an expanded charge. Even though we have not publicly created a campaign announcing the foundation, we are already seeing a great amount of interest in organizations here within Raymore interested in connecting with the foundation, finding new ways to donate or become supporters of programs from the Parks Department, Animal Shelter, and the Arts Commission. Also would like to continue, we're going to identify grants with the foundation. This will become a much easier task. The hurdle was set pretty high for cities to apply for arts grants. Typically, those organizations require a 501c3 designation. Now that we have the foundation, we really can start focusing pretty laser-like on those grants. And then also we continue to expand our network of supporters. The idea that art is really a regional effort is true, especially in the Kansas City area with the amount of resources and dollars available for organizations like ours. The third strategy, supporting our existing arts-related programs. We knew the Parks and Recreation Department already had a number of programs. Tri-County Art League has been a great supporter of the arts in our county as well as the entire region. And we didn't necessarily want to step into or take over the work that they had already done. And so we were finding ways to support the work that they're doing, but also continue to stay focused on the areas that we find important, making sure that we get public art in the city by supporting those. And so we've sponsored live music at the Farmers Market, as well as we host, or the commission has hosted, the Tri-County Art League Student Art Contest. And I think you've seen the fruits of that when the students display their artwork here at the end of the contest, at the end of the year. I've also introduced new arts-related programming, and this is for both young children as well as adults through a number of programs, the Paint and Sip event, the Pop Art Your Pet, and the Family Art Days. We've reconfigured the Family Art Days to once a month and have also given the kind of the programming and the drive to the Education Working Group, who really takes on the teaching of those classes and coming up with the ideas. So our fourth strategy, and again, as I said, this is our new one. One of the first acts, or one of the first actions that the Arts Commission will be taking will be appointing a public or a performance art committee for the Arts Commission. And this committee, really its first role will be to determine its responsibilities and its obligations as a committee as to what it will undertake, what it would like its scope to include. Then their second task, as they'll be assigned, will be to begin looking at what public performance venues we have here in Raymore. As I mentioned earlier, we have a number of churches that have great opportunity for us serving as a public performance space, as well as Centerview, the new amphitheater, and many other areas that we just haven't yet thought of. And so as we start to get that committee up and running, I think we're going to see a good kind of analysis of areas that we excel in as a community, and then areas that maybe we'd want to focus on as a commission. Also going to be looking at and evaluating the survey of community performance venues, as I said, just to kind of figure out what we have, but also to look at what our community is interested in. We know, as we've done the survey in the past, we know they're interested in live music. We've seen, with summer scene events and our upcoming summer concert series, there's a good response from our residents. And so we want to be able to ensure that we're providing quality programming in that area. And then the last program, determine the feasibility of a participatory performance program. I'm not sure if you had the opportunity, I believe it was Channel 9, there was, it was called a bar and choir event. And they opened up down in the River Market, opened up one of the event spaces and invited people to come out. They had essentially a pop-up choir event. They had an accompanist, a band there, and they had music available, sheet music, that they were able to sing from. And it was kind of an interesting story because, part of the whole process of this was they were to have, had people walking through the River Market, but then this one event space had kind of this neat interactive program. Commissioner Setzer has some experience with the kind of the participatory performance work, as well as through choirs, a performer herself. And so she has brought a lot to this commission in the way of being able to provide ideas and really the kind of the boots on the ground, the logistics of how something like this would work and how we can get our community engaged in not just, a painting class or some sort of a physical art, but truly being involved in a participatory performance art that everyone would enjoy. So what's next in 2019? Well, this really is where I would turn it over to my Arts Commission members, as well as members of the council, to talk about what they see in the upcoming work plan, how they see the priorities fitting in with the work we have coming up, and also just to ask questions about what you as council members would like to see in 2019. Hopefully, we have shown the commission has a very successful track record of bringing interesting and unique public art to the community, as well as unique unique educational opportunities that everyone can enjoy. And so with that, I'll turn it over to any questions.
I just, first of all, want to thank you all for this opportunity to meet with you tonight. I think it's very important that we continue to show you the experience and the success that the commission has had, but it wouldn't obviously have come to pass without the council. So we do thank you for that. We thank you for your continued support, and we look forward to a new committee, which will be working with the performing arts. And I think what's top of our mind right now, at least from our perspective, is you've seen what we've done. We'd like to know on the performing arts side what your anticipation is, your ideas. I mean, it has to be a joint effort among all the groups, not just the commission, our commission, but we'd like some input or questions from you all before we form this committee and start work on performing arts. So that would be my first question back to the council.
Okay, Mr. Barber.
First of all, I was just kind of calculating in my head. The Art Commission, I think, started about right when I got on the council, which was about 2015. Am I correct? And I would venture to say, if you ask most people that was at Summer Scene, they'd find it hard to believe that the Art Commission's only 3 years old, with everything that you guys have done, with all the art that's gone in. So I wrote on my notes here, very pleased. As a council member, I'm very pleased with what's going on, but at the same time, excited about some other stuff. On this strategy 4, you're talking about appointment of a performing arts committee. I want to volunteer my co-art here in Ward 3. Mr. Holman would love to be a part of that and get some input. 'Cause I know he's got some fantastic, I'm not going to embarrass him on who he's got lined up, but he truly does have some good ideas on that. And I think that is something, with everything that we've seen going on with the Art Commission, I think it's, like you said, I think it's time now to kind of take that next step with it. And I think some people are kind of anticipating something, and no pressure, but with all you guys have done in 3 years, they're going to have high expectations with that. But I know you guys you're going to come through, and whatever we need to do to help, and certainly from Ward 3, and I can't speak for everybody, but we're excited. So to see what's coming down. So thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to second that nomination for Mr. Holman, if that helps. Also want to thank you for all the work you've done in the last 3 years. I was at the Summer Scene as well, and I was really impressed. Everybody I talked to seemed to be having a great time out there. Went out without a flaw, so it was very nice. As far as the Performing Arts Committee, I would urge you to go bold and go big. We trust your judgment, I think, and we look for some good suggestions from you. So don't be afraid to be yourselves and be bold, and to pick some good people out there. Thank you.
I would state that you know, we know that this is part of our task. We're looking forward to learning more about the different venues. That's part of the committee's obligation, is to look at different venues, not only the amphitheater, but other venues throughout the city, because we know that the amphitheater will lend itself to certain types of groups, but maybe not everything that we want to do. So we're quite excited to learn more about, one, the amphitheater. I know that that's still being worked out, and once that's finished, we look forward to learning more about the details about it, and, you know, how it's going to work, what types of groups it would lend itself towards. But I think the committee will need to really look at everything and work with Parks and Rec, and the community, communications department, just to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the community. I'm hoping that we'll have some kind of survey put out to the community itself to see what types of performing arts they're most interested in. We know we've heard music, but there may be more. I mean, we could be seeing drama, we could see, readings, we could see smaller groups. So it'll be interesting to see over the next year what we have to do. But we look forward to the challenge, and thank you for your support. I would like to say also that Summer Scene was a success, but there are two people that really did, especially Melissa McGee. She's not here tonight, but boy, without her, oh, where is she? I'm sorry. You weren't there before. Okay. Melissa, I mean, she did a wonderful job. Gosh, it ran smooth, and I just have to thank her and Mike too for their work. So it's just not the commission, it's everybody. So.
Thank you. Mr. Keller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would agree with Councilman Behrens on what he said, is that, we have a lot of confidence in what you do. I'll speak for myself, but I know that others will probably agree that I enjoy and like what I see that you folks have done. You folks are artists. I'm not. I love art. Don't get me wrong. I love music. I love all kinds of things. And I think that's kind of representative of a lot of people. I'll give you a quick example is what I enjoy to do when I'm at home. I don't watch TV. I watch a lot of YouTube. I catch videos and that. And here lately I have, I'm getting ready to go on a semi-work activity vacation in September. I'll be going to New Orleans. And I've been watching a lot of different videos as far as street performers in New Orleans. And I've caught a couple of really neat and really good street performers down there. Many of them are groups, some of them are individual. From music to acrobatics to all kinds of different things that I just enjoy, and I'm doing this in hopes of when I go down to New Orleans, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to look for these folks to see what it's all about. And I guess where I'm going with that is that if I was to suggest anything, not charge you with anything, but suggest anything, is that to reach out to, street performers or anybody that just wants to perform when we're having things going on around, kind of like the bike rodeo. I don't see that as something that, if somebody wants to come in and play their bass or their tuba or whatever, there's some really good people out there that can really entertain with things that we don't think are entertaining. But I think that all they need is, and maybe it's going on, I don't know about it, but just to know that they're welcome to come and do their thing freely. If that's what they want to do, they want to play their 5-gallon bucket drums, have at it. That's fantastic. That's what I absolutely am excited about going down to New Orleans again, to see down there on Bourbon Street, Royal Street, and all of that. Is just who shows up to show their talent just because they love what they do. I guess, again, just to reiterate, is just let everybody know that they're welcome here. They don't have to be invited as a gig or something like that, or if they have something that they have to share, more than welcome. Come home to Raymore, come home to Moore, they're free to do it, so, thanks.
Mr. Ullman.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to express my appreciation to my colleagues for your confidence in me. I did need to let you know, though, that as many times as I've called, Mick Jagger will not return my calls. I'm still working on it, but just thought I'd let you know that. I would concur with most of the comments that have been made so far. Having been here since before the time of the Arts Commission and I think there were a lot of people that thought about it, but Councilmember Moorhead's the one that actually put the idea through, put the money forth, and have, I would agree, have done quite a bit in 3 years. So I think if we were to outline expectations, I think you've exceeded those. I think you're going in the right direction and should continue that. I think it is certainly time and probably a little overdue to put an emphasis on the performing arts. A counter argument can certainly be made. We really haven't had the venues for that to this time, but I think probably putting that into overdrive with what we have now and what's coming in the near future is probably, certainly should be a priority. So I'm really excited about Strategy 4. I think there's been at least some loose talk about it, but I think a natural extension of that, we've really thought about the musical performances kind of as the headline piece of most of that. I think a natural extension would be to see if we have strong interest, and I would expect that we would for community theater here in Raymore. My youngest son was in, I can't call it a play because I get in trouble, it was the musical production of High School Musical at the junior high. They sell out those, all performances, all 6 or 8 that they do, and they sell them out in advance, and they have people waiting in line. Now, the argument can be made that yes, the parents and grandparents are going to go, but if you have true community theater, you're going to have young people involved as well. You will get support for that, and there will be people that show up, and you'll have no problems. Success will beget success in that case. So something I would say, if you're going to do anything along the lines of surveys or perhaps just, damn the torpedoes and do it, I think that's going to be a real successful project, and I think it will add a real nice piece that is going to be very complementary to the musical performances that you're looking at as well. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Jay. Anyone else? Mr. Circo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to reiterate on Mr. Holman. You guys have done a great job, and I think where we're at today in 2018, we're moving forward. It's about art, it's about music, it's about the future, and that's what people want. They enjoy that. They love a city that has that, and the more they have, the more opportunities they'll come. And my niece was 4 years with the high school over here, Ray Peck, on drama and musical. Now she's in college and singing well. But the kids, when you go to these musicals and these drama things they have, these plays and stuff that you see, they're just outstanding. We have so much talent in this community with these young people year after year. And to be able to maybe bring them in when we have the amphitheater, we have things, to bring it, it would draw the city, I know. And when they would see the talent that this city puts out these young people, they'd be so amazed. Because a lot of these young people are heading off to college for drama and music and singing and theatrics. And that's another thing I like about all this. This is where we need to move to. Give those young people an opportunity to set out a large group of people, and they can talk about them. And social media is so big. They send this stuff out. It's just uniquely exciting for me, especially when that's in. We have the venue over here. But you guys are doing a great. But let's just dig in, look at where we're going for the future, art, music. Just put it out there. That's what people will move here. And if people want to be here, and they will come. And the more we advance into that, as this city grows, it will grow quicker and faster, larger, just because they have those amenities that are available. And that's what is great to me, exciting for me as a councilman now. So yes, kudos to you guys. You guys have done a great job. Keep it up. Don't look back, look forward. Charge ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Mr. Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This may be of some help to you. A phrase that I coined a number of years ago among a couple of the council members. If you all would like to adopt this, if Mr. Icky would like to use it in communication, it is strategic thought as far as how we approach things. And the phrase is, we would like to claim your final 8. We've had a reputation for years of being a bedroom community, and we don't have any problems getting people to move here and buying houses. They spend 8 hours in their house sleeping. They spend roughly 8 hours of the 24 hours day out at work, whether that's Kansas City, Independence, Johnson County, what it may be. What do they do with their final 8, their free time? They go to a Chiefs game, they go to a Royals game, they may go to a performance at the Independence Events Center, et cetera, et cetera. Point is they don't give us much of their final 8 here. And your job is to claim some of that final 8. So if that phrase is of help, please feel free to use that. I have I think, claimed that or used that phrase with Mr. Feuerborn a number of times in the past. It has certainly driven a lot of the funding of projects that we have talked about. So just a concept to think about.
Sharon, anyone from your group?
Harriet.
Well, I think the comments about all the talent of the kids, that's a true statement, but also there's a great foundation being built at the junior high and high school, in the school district. So we have sort of a tradition already being built before we're sort of trying to build it up even further. And I would like to see us maybe cooperate a little more with the school district and explore some possibilities for bringing some of that student thespian and even debate kind of talent into more of a public venue, because I know not everybody gets in to see the theater pieces. So, yeah, I've tried. My other thought about all this, and where we're moving, and I serve on the Public Art Committee, and we've had a great deal of fun seeing the pieces go up, and the fact that when we put out the call for artists the first 2 times, we got 3 responses. But when we put it out the 3rd time for the mural, we got 24. So we're getting a little respect. And hopefully we can build on that last call that we did and get another mural in progress real soon. The other thing that I think we could do together, and perhaps with Parks and Rec too, is to look for some money and support and sponsorship. And now that we have the foundation to provide the 501c3, as Mike said, we'd like to look at opportunities for housing developments and commercial properties to do more art, public art, but our little budget is not going to pay for a lot of that. And so if we can seed that and perhaps work together somehow through the foundation to garner more local money, I'd like to target the real estate people. I think, they deserve it. And, they've done a lot for the community, but they could also do a lot more, and there are precedents other places, even tax kinds of things that might be done, might think about. But the more we do, the more we're going to want to do, and the more people are going to want to come and do things. And so I think we need to look for cooperative ways to fund those things. Thanks.
Mike, I was curious, with regard to working with other arts commissions within other communities around here, have they established protocols for fundraising and use of funds for particular items? I mean, we really don't have a policy generated yet by the Arts Commission to have that kind of, we have the foundation now for purposes of maybe funneling money toward a specific project, but are there ways that say specifically if you promote a given event and there might be a cost associated with that, how is that then reapplied toward the cost of the overall event? And is there grant funds available?
There are. So the Arts Commission is a member of MACA, which is the Missouri Arts Council Alliance. And it's essentially boards and commissions from across the state, and they are able to bring a variety of resources, kind of that you just spoke to, a number of policies that we could adopt or procedures that we could undertake, as well as opportunities for that grant funding. And there come with some restrictions that we would easily be able to undertake, and really the hardest one most recently was we didn't have a 501c3 backing. Now that we have that, it truly does open up the door that is going to bring us a lot of new opportunities that we can take advantage of through MACA, through the Missouri Arts Council, as well as through even the National Arts Endowment, that all would have, they each have their own different rules, but now that we're able to really step into that arena, I think we're going to be able to see more programming in public arts that could come through those programs.
Mid-America Regional Council hasn't dipped their toe in that area, have they?
Mark, I don't know what Mark's involvement is, but there is the Kansas City Regional Council, or I'm sorry, Kansas City's, the KC Arts Alive project, and it's a regional arts council for the Kansas City area. Unfortunately, they don't come into Cass County. And so
Gotcha.
a lot of and so one of our projects going forward as staff may be engaging with that group and seeing what we could do to expand their boundaries into Cass County.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? No? I guess that would, do you have anything with regard to this particular topic, sir?
That concludes for us, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you all for being here tonight, and thanks again for the work that you do. We know it's a lot of work, and you guys put a lot of thought into it, and we really do appreciate everything you do. Thank you. And looks like we've got another follow-on Iki show here with the communications report.
We'll keep this one as high level and quick as possible, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Eki.
Thank you, sir. Wanted to just provide a brief overview. You can see the number of projects undertaken by the Communications Department here in this quarter on the memo, or through the memo. One area I did just want to highlight very, very quickly is through our digital media tracking, we have seen a great increase in the number of followers as well as engagements through not only the City of Raymore Facebook page, but the Raymore Police Department, as well as the Arts Commission Facebook page itself, all of them not only growing in followers, but growing in engagement, and we're seeing more comments, likes, shares of that information, and that is due, I believe, truly in part to the work that Melissa McGee has put into creating that content and working with the other departments to find information and really spotlight the work that is going on here in the city. When I first started as a communications director, I remember Councilman Holman asked me at my first council meeting what exactly I saw my mission as being in this department. And I remember I told him at the time, my role here is to shine the spotlight on the great work that our employees are doing for our residents on a day-to-day basis. And it's great to see, you can see it online through social media, but you can also see it through the stories that are written about us in our local newspapers and done through, as we saw, Channel 9 had a great story on the Spirit of America Festival. Their reporters spent 5 hours out in the heat with us to cover that, and that is due truly in part to the work that she does for the department and for the social media. With that, because we have already spent a considerable amount of time with the Arts Commission, there is no need to make this the Mike Eki show, and so I can end it there, and I'm open to any questions about the report.
Anyone have anything? It's Mr. Townsend.
I had one real quick question, one that jumped out at me earlier, not necessarily related to the media. Outstanding on that, and interesting to see an article all the way from St. Louis in there. But seeing under the communications portion of it, the Jim's trash, is that died down significantly? We're 6 months into this now. We're still having significant city level interaction with Jim's trash? No? Okay.
We're seeing, and we compare year to year, and so we are seeing them roughly hitting the same amount. The number of concerns we receive, roughly the same as what we received last year and the year before.
Yes, Mr. Barber.
I was looking over the spreadsheet you had here, and I was really surprised about how much activity the animal shelter Facebook page gets. I mean, it's pushing. I mean, it's number 3, but it's right up there, in a strong number 3. And I was surprised. I mean, I'm linked to it. I see what's going on, but there's an awful lot of our citizens on that taking a look at that. So.
And the success of that is also due to Animal Control Officer Jamie Hazenjager. She is very active on the Facebook page, using it not only to talk about the work that they're doing, but to post about the animals. And if the internet has taught us anything, they love cat videos. And so, I mean, Jamie has really found a way to share not only what she's doing as an employee, but also to share when she finds a lost dog, and encourages people to share that photo and share it with everyone, not just in our community, but in the area. And it really has taken off. And so she does a great job, and she and Melissa have created a great partnership to see that page take off.
Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know we've covered this in the past before, but, you know, coming from a sales background and doing a lot of my own marketing, you know, the numbers in here are leaps and bounds ahead of industry standards. When we look at, you know, the clicks that we've got, 41%, and you can see it goes up every year to 45, 46, almost 47, and did hit 47. Time on there, a minute and a half, and that doesn't sound like much, but that's quite a bit. And so when you look at these numbers, if you inlaid the industry standard here, we would be several times higher than a average on those. So again, that's hats off to the communications department. Whatever you're doing, you're doing it very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Allman.
Thank you, sir. I had two questions. I guess from kind of a 10,000-foot view, Mr. Hickey, or executive recap, is our outreach and our connection with people via electronic means, is that trending the same? Is it increasing? What would be your opinion on that?
We see right now, and the challenge, and I think with any email marketing, which I think is kind of to your question, the challenge is you want to grow the number of people who subscribe, and you also want to keep them engaged with the emails you send out. We send out a lot of emails, from council packets to monthly Parks and Recreation updates to bids and bids that RFPs that we are sending out. And with that email volume, our challenge is how do we keep people engaged and not just seeing it come to their inbox and deleting it automatically. That is a challenge for us creatively to ensure that we are providing information that is relevant, that's timely, and also that is entertaining. That people want to engage and click through. At the same time, it's also a challenge to target and ensure that for someone who wants to receive just information about youth programming in parks, we have them signed up to the right list so that they only receive that information and not information from parks programming that may not, you know, truly relate to them or be of interest to them, because then your numbers start to skew down. And so that is always our challenge, and I think that would be a challenge for any department. But at least I at least have the luxury of being able to say when our numbers skew down, they skew down from 50% to 47%, which in the grand scheme of things, we're still above. I mean, our industry standard for a government organization, I mean, there are agencies out there that are lucky if they get a 5% open rate. And so we still have a wide margin that we're able to use.
My second question is only related on the peripheral. Did you put your drone up at the Spirit of America to test the size of the crowd this year?
I unfortunately was unable. I was helping in the parking lot, and so I didn't get a chance to.
You know, I think Washington, they just, from the inauguration, they just Photoshopped those pictures and say we had twice the crowd we did last year. So, I mean, if you want to go that route.
Yeah, that's a nice segue, because Mr. Hickey, you got a lot on your plate, and I notice how much you do watch social media and you manage that yourself. And I wonder, is there anything you need in your tool bag to make that more automated? Are you having to do that all manually? I mean, it's going to get to a point, the way these numbers are trending, and we add more things on. When does that get where, I know you've got some help too, but when does that, is there anything out there that can help you? Are you looking for anything like that? Or I don't know your business. Is there anything out there?
One tiny correction. I don't do it all myself. I actually was scolded slightly by Ms. McGee because I was looking at something and responding when she was responding at the exact same time. And so sometimes I just have to stay out of her way. She's successfully doing that. As a personal preference and professionally, I don't think, even if we were a city of 100,000, I wouldn't want to automate anything. What I think the success of our social media program and our online assets, the success comes from the fact that we're providing a personal touch. We are able to respond in real time. I sign my name, I add contact information, and I encourage everyone here at the city when they're responding online to do the same. And that means someone who has a complaint knows they've been heard, knows that they can contact us in real time if they wanted to call or email, and that provides a great benefit because people want that customer service, that one-to-one interaction. And so I think I would always keep that same way with social media.
Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, and you do an excellent job of that. I've seen on several different occasions on some of the social media accounts where the comments have gotten rather heated, and you've been very professional, you and Ms. McGee, in your responses back to the comments, and without fail providing your name and contact information. So that's very admirable to maintain that. But I do echo Mr. Barber in respect to, yes, still maintaining that personal touch, but at a point we may need to address possible staffing concerns to maintain that personal touch.
Yeah, Mr. Holman.
Thank you, sir. Kind of a technology question. I think it ties in with you inundate us with data. One of the capital projects that we've had on for, I think, 2 years, because we didn't fully fund it enough. The first year was enhancing, first of all, providing Wi-Fi accessibility at the parks, and then I think we went to enhanced Wi-Fi capability. And I know that project's still not done yet. I know there's a few hurdles there, but there is some funding. Is there any way for you to add that? In other words, we don't know who signed on, but how many people are using Wi-Fi in the parks? In other words, how valuable is that service to our people once it comes online?
That would be something we could, we want to work with the IT department with and see what they'd be able to provide us.
Okay. Just a thought. Thank you.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's definitely something that IT could probably look into to give you that information, because that is perfect. They got detail how often it's used and who's using it, and getting the support out of it. So.
And I say, and my final comments really, and Chief had just reminded me, the most recent project, and I didn't get to include it in this packet. Ms. McGee and one of our officers just put together a really nice PSA encouraging sober drivers on the 4th of July holiday. And so if you've not had a chance to get onto our Facebook page and see that PSA, it was a really nice piece of video work. We know moving forward, video is what people are watching online. I mean, they're watching through Facebook. You know, that's the first place they go to. And so very successful PSA, and really looking forward to seeing how that gets used this week.
Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Mr. Fairborn?
And I'd just like to finish up this particular item on the agenda by thanking Mike and thanking Melissa. It is incredible when you think about the fact that they're the first line that we get when people are upset about something, and to be able to overcome that and still put such a positive spin and show this city in its true great light. Sometimes it could really get you down, and they don't let it get to them. And they continue to be believers in this city and believers in what we're doing, and it's great. So thank you to both of you.
Yes.
To that end, Mr. Fairborn, we don't have a good communications department. We have an exceptional communications department. We have the best in the industry, in the municipal, as far as I know, in the surrounding area. There is no one that tops them, and we've known that for some time. That's a great resource that our citizens and we have here.
Thank you, sir.
I would agree. So we'll go ahead and move on to the water and sewer rates at this time.
Now we go from exciting to a little bit boring, but that's okay. I get excited about it. Want to start on page 41 of 47 of your packet as we roll into this, and just a reminder on the timelines that are associated with this. If you all give us the okay to move forward with this, this actually goes to a public hearing. Sewer rates by state statute have to go to a public hearing in front of the council, and we would be bringing those not at the next council meeting, but the council meeting after that. It would be a public hearing, and then second reading following that at the first reading in August. We provided you with what I call the assumptions page relative to what we're going to be recommending, and you can see on there, I won't go into a great deal of detail except to talk about the fact that while the overall water and sewer fund is seeing an operating increase of 3.9%, that is when you include, if you'll remember the summary sheets, if you can picture them in your mind's eye, the bottom capital outlay associated with that. And in this fund, the capital outlay is included in the operating budget because it's an enterprise fund. So everything has to be shown there. But if you just look at the expenses, the day-to-day operating expenses that are above that line, and assuming that a second item that I'm going to be presenting to the council goes into place, which we're really excited about, you will be seeing a 1.2% decrease next year. Some other just information for you all. We're still split about 50-50 between our volume and our non-volume customers, our winter average customers. Price increase for KC Water started this past May 1st, and that's when they implement all of their price increases. I've never seen them actually decrease the price. So the price increase for Little Blue will go into effect in October. Middle Big Creek is still $32.50 per connection. We pay Little Blue Valley Sewer District by volume, and they look at the past year's volume to determine what the next year's rate is going to be, whereas Middle Big Creek, as a component of that, we pay by service connection. The next increase for Middle Big Creek is slated for 2021, when it will go up to $37 per connection. The second to last bullet is the thing that I'll be talking to you about here in a minute, taking on some new debt for some infrastructure funding that we're going to be recommending. And then this represents a decrease in the 3R fund from $540,099 to $360,099. That's representative of the fact that we have been funding the 3R fund for a considerable amount of time now, and we're getting to a point where the 1% for infrastructure isn't necessary, so we can lower that a little bit and do some spending.
3R fund?
Replacement and renewal.
There we go.
And rehab. I always say the third R is really expensive, but the fiscal 18 projections, you can see there where we have changed them to get to the end of the enterprise fund. And of course, we're fiscal 17 on the summary sheet now is actual what came in. If you turn the page, you'll see a really complex table. And the bottom line of that particular table, if you would, sir, is actually in this summary page. And what all of this is saying, and you'll remember that our water and sewer rates are cost of service. When we look at available fund balance to begin a year, and when we look at how that year is projected to end, the only rate changes that we recommend to you are to try to hit a specific ending fund balance, and that's it. So everything else is specifically tuned into cost of service to provide this. We do not make any money over and above what it costs to provide water and sewer to the customers. And that's why we revisit this every single year, because obviously those cost changes according to the assumptions and to what we know. And depending on sales and things that have occurred in the previous year, this year for next year, we may end up with a higher fund balance than we thought, so that helps us to adjust the rates or keep the rates the same. So the bottom line of all this is we are recommending that water be increased by 5 cents and that volume sewer be decreased by 10 cents for an overall reduction in the combined rate for fiscal year 19 of $14.46. And that would be, we would expound on that obviously in front of the council if you give us the okay to bring this forward to a public hearing with these particular rates. That concludes the first staff report, sir.
Okay. You looking for comment?
Comment and the thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs up.
the
Well, I
report.
think I've got
Okay.
heads nodding around
Very
the
good.
table here, so we'll move forward with that. That's great.
Excellent. Now for the exciting part of this. we are as the council knows, especially those of you who've been around for a while, or seniors, the year after I started with the city, oh so long ago, we began a meter replacement program. And we have been suffering under the meter replacement program with no end in sight. It's as bad as curbs. And we've been on it for so long that an upstart company that we recommended the year after I started with the city for that meter replacement program was a company called AMCO. They are now no longer in existence. So we received the okay last year to shift over to what is called a Sensus. They've been around forever. iPearl meter. It is state of the art. It is capable of reading the meters by the hour. If we have somebody who questions the reading that has gone in, they have a 20-year guarantee compared to a 10-year guarantee for the other meters in the industry. Excellent service and support, and we've been really pleased with them. The problem is it is so slow doing this, and we have committed every single year doing this nearly $90,000 to this particular replacement program. Problem with that is these AMCO meters are starting to give out because they've reached the end. So some of the $90,000 that's going into that is then being dedicated over into what should be replacing with new meters, because we're having to use the new meters to replace the AMCOs. Staff is proposing the following. Because this is a revenue fund and it's it generates revenue, we can take out revenue bonds and get this done in one fell swoop. So I asked Cindy and Mike to work on a proposal, and they did a very excellent job of putting this together. In short, meter cost would be $1,104,525. The installation cost would be $213,180. Add the meter lids to mount radios, approximately $120,000, and the first year fixed base system. This is important because for the first year, what would normally be recurring costs, we can actually take out that first year's cost in the bond issue. We can plug it into the bond issue. After that, we do have yearly monitoring fees. This particular system would put that iPearl meter into every residential home, every commercial unit where we had to do a replacement, or new commercial units. And in the business office, we would push a button once a month and it would automatically read every meter in the city. We can eliminate the position of meter reader and move him over to maintenance worker 1 in the enterprise fund and give them some much needed help that they need. And any customer who calls in and says, is my meter running right now? From that window right there, we can tell them exactly what their meter is doing. We can send them a report in real time on exactly what's happening in their home. We can send them what happened all night the night before. And these are great little meters. It is a wonderful system. What does all of that mean as far as staff recommendations? Well, currently, we are paying $88,000 in the enterprise fund for this replacement program. One of the reasons we can propose a rate reduction to you is if we go with this particular system when we do this bond issue, similar to the street light program, what we will be doing is moving that operational cost into a debt service payment that gets split evenly between the sewer replacement fund and the water replacement fund. And for 8 years, we would have a $230,000 total debt service payment, and then it all goes away and we own the entire system, except for the monthly fee. So the $88,000 that we're paying next year goes down to approximately $20,000 in monitoring fees and the web hosting from Sensus. The $113,000 debt service payment would be applied to one of our capital funds, and the $113 would be applied to the second capital fund, and in 8 years, we've got everything. So we will have reduced the operating costs in the enterprise fund by approximately $68,000 every single year, which contributes to the rate decrease that you see overall here. So we relieve it of that burden and we get our own system all at the same time. And if the council is okay with moving forward with this, we could actually advertise for a competitive bid, because the council knows I refuse to do what is called a placed funding for debt service. I prefer the competitive bid process. I think it's a lot more transparent. We could put in front of you a parameters ordinance that would allow us to do the bidding and have the money in hand by the last day of August, and they could begin actually with the system the 1st of September, and they anticipate approximately 16 weeks for full install and build out. So 16 weeks, 4 months.
Mr. Keller?
And they will be performing that work, or we will be?
No, an independent contractor performs the work.
Okay.
Mr. Berenson?
Thank you, sir. I like the proposal. I have two really quick questions here. The monitoring service that's roughly $20,000, will that increase as we add more homes, or is that just a fixed rate?
I don't think it would increase by home. I think it would increase by their costs.
Okay. And then is that $20,000, is that fixed over time, or, you know, can that be in 20 years or 10 years? Do we know what that rate is going to be?
We don't.
Okay.
They'd be applying their labor charges, monitoring charges. We just don't know.
Okay.
Mr. Keller, I think we had somebody else. Hold on. Mr. Townsend?
General question, as we're transitioning to the new systems, with new homes, would they be required to apply the new ones during this transition period?
Yes. As far as putting the census meter in, we're already putting that meter in, so yeah, a home gets built up in Creekmore tomorrow, and we got to put a meter in. The census meter is the one we're using.
Okay.
Mr. Keller?
The 20,000, that's per year?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Barber?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the 20,000 monitoring charge eliminates the FTE in that department, correct?
That is correct.
And I imagine we're paying that person more than that, and they get raises through the year, and that cost goes up as well. So that makes sense. And then the debt service, did you say 8 years? You figured that?
It is the total bonding that has to occur, in addition to the $1,552,489, which is the total of those prices that I just now gave you as far as the cost is concerned. We have to have the cost of issuance would be $39,875, and other uses of the funds $2,636. That's to get onto the ERISA site. So total bond issue would be $1,595,000, and over the course of 6 years, approximately 230. Fluctuates by a couple of $1,000s down to 227,150, but we would split those between Fund 52 and Fund 54.
And my point to that question, thank you for the details with that, but these units then have a 20-year warranty? Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so it's not often that you pay for something, and by the time you pay it off, normally the warranty is up on it. So that's why I made the 8 years, 12 years left on the warranty. So this has my support. I think this is a great idea, and I appreciate you bringing this forward. And it shows your creative genius here. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it sounds like it's going to eliminate some headaches down the road. So,
thank you, sir.
Just out of curiosity, we've got about 7,000, it looks like, customers. How many of them have the census now? I mean, how many are we going to be installing? Do you have any clue? Are we like 10% installed or 20%? It's probably not very many.
No, actually, it's probably going to be close to 4,000.
That
Believe
we've
it or
already
not.
installed?
No, that we
will
still
be
need to
installing?
install,
Okay,
yeah.
all right. Actually,
That's
more than I
how
thought we were.
slow it goes.
Yeah, because we've been doing it for how many years? 7?
Decade and a half.
Has it been that long? Oh, my gosh. Mr. Kellogg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The way I see it, this is less than 5% of our annual budget as it sits right now, and this can be paid off in 6 years, is what he's saying. Very similar to streetlights, and it's just as innovative as that, in my opinion, and I'm all for it, and I say, bring it forward.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very good. One of the things that has us extreme.
Something else?
One of the things that has us extremely excited about it is a huge leap forward in customer service for people who call in. We get a lot of calls every single month. I think I've got a leak. Is it doing something right now? I don't have anything turned on. And I mean, we don't have to send anybody out there. We can do it right here. And then if they want it, we can give them the tips on what to do, dye into the back of the toilet, things like that. And then it frees Bud up to do even more of those. Bud is our meter reader. Frees him up to do even more of those types of checks in the home for folks that really right now Public Works has to do because he's always out there every single day reading. The other nice part about it is it will probably, and I was just talking with Cindy this afternoon about this, it will more than likely lead to one billing cycle. Right now we operate under 3 different billing cycles. It's extremely confusing. 3 different billing cycles with 4 zones. Everything would be all at once. Everybody would be on the same date. Expectations for that.
Mr. Holman?
Yeah, I support this too. I see a number of parallels between this and the streetlight project. I mean, I unfortunately don't have Mr. Fearborn's mind for numbers, but it's pretty straightforward. We do this project, we're going to be paying, a little extra above the roughly $70,000 that we're saving, and then in 8 years, it all's come back to us. We have brand new infrastructure in place. We have better citizen satisfaction. We have less headaches for our employees, and we have an employee that we can dedicate to other more pressing projects. This is a win-win, no-brainer. Thank you.
Mr. Townsend, did you have something?
It was just out of curiosity with automation and with this network going in. Do we currently use this, the web-based system for the?
No.
Okay.
No, we actually drive around.
Drive around,
and
yes, with, I forget the gentleman's name. I'll ask, and as we bring this program online, with the automation of being in the office with the one button push, will it have the capabilities of creating, or for the residents or for the address, this is your normal rate of usage, and then all of a sudden, someone's aerating their lawn and pokes a hole in their sprinkler system, and now there's a spike. Does it, again, for a
absolutely.
city, that's revenue, but again, that's a customer service aspect back to the resident.
I actually have an iPro meter at my house. It's the one that they installed, and I received a notification 3 months ago that I was about to have a $560 water bill. We had a leak that we didn't know about.
Okay.
So this will automatically generate. That one just happened because we have what's called a variance report that brings it up if there's a deviation of that magnitude in a bill, and we always let those people know before they get it that they're about to need to sit down. And in this case, that report will be generated automatically by residents when it occurs. So not when the bill is generated, but if they're 3 weeks into a 4-week billing cycle and all of a sudden the system shows that that's up, they're going to get a notification.
Okay, perfect. So that's another win for the residents and the notifications of that. Excellent. Thank you.
Mr. Circo?
Yes, as you said, I had that last year happen. I had a basement toilet that had been leaking off or going off, and I didn't know it. And I noticed my water bill was coming in and going, wow, what did we do? And I thought we had a leak. The gentleman, of course, I can't even think, came by and we were talking. And he said, check this, give me some ideas. I went down and found, every so often it would run and not run. And you don't think it uses a lot of water, but those use a lot of water when things like that happen. But there's a new automated system. if you have an average of each individual home, like you say, and like you said, it notices there's a deviation of usage out of the norm, you'll be able right away to notify the people so they can look into it. Okay, right away, that's now time, not a week or two, and someone can get out there.
Exactly. If it is and if you save a week
Oh,
of,
yeah.
of that toilet running, which is, when a toilet is leaking, you got a faucet turned on all the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how that works, and it can get up
Oh, yeah.
real quick.
Real quick.
So instead, in week 3, we're notifying them rather than waiting till week 4 when we see the variation report on the bill itself.
Okay, yeah, I think that's amazing. I think that's the way we need to move into the future. I think it's an outstanding program, and for the cost and the money, the way we're going to get, only spend a 20, give up to 68, 70,000 into the other debt service, which makes sense mathematically. I wasn't here for the lighting program, of course, but just the basic information and the numbers you give makes sense as a business owner. I got to understand it's really for the future, what you do over the 8 years really reflects for the 20 right now, and that's outstanding.
Thanks. Mr. Kellogg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just kind of curious, will this have any benefit for us when we're estimating when we negotiate our contracts with Kansas City Water as far as our usage, how much we lease per day? Is there, I guess I'm just really worried.
Unfortunately, negotiating a contract with Kansas City Water.
Yeah,
is-
I guess what I'm wondering is, will this help staff determine more accurately or more pinpointed as to what our needs are when we negotiate that? Because it's my understanding we negotiate like regardless. I'll just throw this out there because I don't know the figure right off, 1 million gallons a day. Would this help us have that much better of projections and record keeping to know that this is what we're going to need, or have a better estimation of what we're going to need in the future when we
Yeah, I think so.
negotiate
It'll
those?
give us some good background data, for sure. Where we're negotiating is with Kansas City Water isn't actual usage, but it's capacity within the line. But when we get, the next time we need to upgrade capacity, for sure. Yearly trends, daily highs, yeah.
Yes, Sanjay.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there's an old saying, a brilliant legal mind is a terrible thing to waste. Mr. Zur has not been involved in any conversation, so just thought I'd take this opportunity. Do you support this, Mr. Zur? Because I certainly don't want to waste your brilliant legal mind.
Not so sure I'm qualified to make an assessment of that one with regard to the finances. I think it's a great idea to be able to provide infrastructure that is accurate for your members and your citizens.
Outstanding, sir. Thank you.
Everybody's good with that? Excellent. Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
That's all you have this evening. And next item is other. Anybody have any other business at this time? Mr. Kellogg.
There's one thing that I've been thinking about for probably the better part of 3 or 4 months, and this kind of came up in our discussions the last 2 meetings in a roundabout way. But I'm kind of thinking, I'm glad Jonathan's here because I'm sure he'll have to answer the question or research it. But when we drive down, I know all of my colleagues drive down 49 at one point or another, and we're always running across the road crews and that. There are increased fines or increased penalties for work zone infractions, whether it be distracted driving or accidents, speeding and that. I'm just kind of curious, what are the thoughts, or maybe I'll ask you to take this for food for thought about thinking about having increased enforcement or penalties for distracted driving or having accidents during anywhere where our public works are out there, our road crews and that, where they're out there in the harm's way. I can't tell you how many times, especially when I ride my bicycle to work, I'm taking my life in my own hands. Not only that when I don't wear my helmet, but when I'm going down 58, that's the only route that I have to go actually, and I see so many distracted drivers with their smartphones, okay? And that's just me on my bicycle. And then what I've been worried about is our public works out there that are, and our contractors also, when they're out there working, and it just, so that, I guess Are we within our rights, if we chose to have kind of an increased penalty or something?
We do, sir.
We do?
Yeah.
I guess then I was not aware of that.
Yes.
And I would ask that, not tonight, but in a future work session, report that or,
Sure.
Even if nobody else is interested, I definitely am. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you. So, anyone else? If not, we do have a reason to go into executive session, so I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to go into executive session to discuss real estate acquisition matters in accord with RSMO 610.021 subsection 2.
I'll second the motion, sir.
It's been made and seconded to move into executive session. Please have the roll call, sir.
Councilman Kellogg?
Yes.
Councilman Townsend?
Yes.
Councilman Circo?
Yes.
Councilman Berenson?
Yes.
Councilman Holman?
Yes.
Councilman Barber?
Yes.
Very good. Mayor?
We are, our regular work session agenda is over, so when we adjourn from executive session, we are adjourned.